back to another exciting episode of the podcast. Today we're with a very, very special guest. Go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
Hey everyone, my name is Shimbashi. I've been a professional wrestler for about a year and some change, and I'm excited to be here. I'm really happy to be here.
Well, thank you for taking time out to chat with me. This is definitely something I've been looking forward to.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and how you wanted to become a professional wrestler?
Oh, for sure. I think I've always been into professional wrestling since I was like a little kid. Um, but I think like with a lot of kids when they were just like watching it, I was like, I need to do this. So I would like force my little brother to what we thought at the time was like the same as wrestling, but looking back, it probably wasn't. But yeah, I was definitely a super fan. I had all the action figures, I had the magazines, I had the DVDs. And when I applied to college at Texas A&M, there was a wrestling school about 10 minutes from the university. And so I talked to my parents about that. And this was during quarantine, so this was, we were all in the same house at the time. But I told them about it, and they weren't super enthusiastic at first, especially just because, like, I think they still were set on me, like, going to college and getting a normal job. And so I got two jobs over the summer to pay for wrestling training. And then, luckily, when I debuted, my parents like saw me how much fun I was having, and they are now fully supportive of it.
That's very cool. I see some of the pictures you have there in the background. Is there somebody that you looked up to as a kind of inspiration, or somebody that you emulate in some ways?
Yeah, I don't think I have necessarily a favorite all-time wrestler, just because like it changes. So with like I've been watching for about 6 years, or it's like 10, 6, 8. I'm not even sure, but the my favorite wrestler changes a lot. So I think when I started, I was super into Batista at the time, and then it was Jeff Hardy was my favorite for a while. When I started training, though, I really really liked Bryan Danielson. I think a lot of his stuff is super crisp, and he's it's the type of wrestling that I really enjoy. And then also like going back old school, Ricky Steamboat. I go by the Canadian Dragon. That's kind of an homage to him. I love his arm drag, so I try to emulate those as best I can. But I try to also study everything and try to take little things from different types of wrestlers, just so I can like see what's working for people and see if I can make it work for me.
That is awesome. So, when it comes down to your training, did where did you train, or where are you training?
Currently, I'm training at Lions Pride Sports in Bryan College Station. It's run by Houston Carson. In my opinion, it's the best looking training facility out there as far as I've seen, especially in Texas. And that's no insult to any of the other schools. It's just that our facility is top of the line. We've got this massive workout area. We've got multiple rings. We have a promo room. We have a kitchen. It's really everything you need if you want to start to be a professional wrestler. I highly recommend it to anybody who's interested in training that lives near Bryan College Station.
How hard was it for you to get through training? Just because, with some of the stuff out, like back when Tough Enough was out and things like that, you'd hear the trainees say it was pretty brutal.
I would like to think that I never was hazed during my training, or I never felt anything was abusive when you hear like those awful stories from like old school wrestling. I did do a lot of sports in high school. I wrestled throughout high school as well. So I think that kind of prepared me for the type of training it is where you have like a coach and you need to listen to and like take critiques well and how to like deal with just training every day. I've kind of been doing that for a long time, at to some level, and so it wasn't necessarily. I don't want to say it was easy training, but it definitely wasn't like it didn't. It doesn't feel impossible. I think if you put your mind to anything and you're dedicated enough, you can do anything. And so like my passion for training really got me through any hard times there was. But a lot of it was fun just because of how much I enjoyed professional wrestling.
So, what do you think about some of the moves that they like, as far as doing? I don't know if they had you do rope runs or anything like that, or taking bumps on the mat for the first time. How was that?
I remember the first time running the ropes. It was, I think, my first or second day of training, and I remember I had bruises on my back from where the ropes were hitting, and so that definitely took a lot to get used to. Those ropes are a lot harder than I think a lot of people who are watching think. It definitely surprised me. And then the first time I like hit the mat was definitely like a wake up call. And luckily now I've gotten used to it, and so it doesn't. It's not as bad as it used to be. But I do remember like the first couple weeks of training, I was like, "Oh, this is a lot more intense than I thought it was."
Yeah, I've heard other wrestlers that I've talked to say the same thing. It's the first initial shock, and then you just kind of get used to it. So,
Yeah.
what promotions have you been in thus far within your first year and a half?
So off the top of my head, I've been staying mostly in the Texas circuit. There's still a couple places I need to check off, but I feel like I've been to most of the major promotions in Texas. Off the top of my head, I've done Dog Pound Championship Wrestling run by Rodney Mack. I've done AAPW run by Pops. APW. It's hard to list them off the top of my head, but I've definitely been working as much as I can, trying to get booked multiple times every weekend. And then I did just get my license to wrestle in Oklahoma, so I'm really excited about that. And then I did wrestle in Arkansas a couple months ago. But I've been really trying to keep myself busy. I think that's the most important part.
Yeah. So in your moveset, I know some people are like high flyers, some people are grapplers, then you have, the brawler. What would you consider yourself as far as your moveset?
I try to do a little bit of everything depending on the type of opponent I'm wrestling, just so that stays fresh and there's variety in my matches. I don't want any of my matches to ever look exactly the same. I definitely like to lean more towards technical wrestling. Chain wrestling is probably one of my favorite things to do. But I do like to whip out some like power moves like spine busters and power slams when I get the chance. And then I also do like to do some like more lucha things where like you're walking on the ropes and you're doing hurricane ranas and everything like that. I think it's important to kind of be good at everything just so that whoever you're wrestling against, like you'll be able to have a unique and different match.
And that makes sense. So when looking at the independent scene, because the independent scene has just exploded over the past few years, how do you feel about all the companies that are out there and all the opportunities that are out there for independent wrestlers like yourself?
I think it's amazing. The fact that there's not just like one or two places to work is really great because it gives, one, there's variety, and two, it lets like people at different levels work it where they need to be. I think everything that all these indie promotions are doing are fantastic. Anything that keeps professional wrestling alive, I'm in full support of 100%.
Yeah, and I think that, with the immersion of AEW, and then you've got, of course, their purchase of Ring of Honor, which is another big indie company. I think that as things progress, I really feel like a lot of the companies are going to become a lot bigger, it's going to be a lot more mainstream. I know AEW is in the process of trying to get streaming rights like WWE has with Peacock. So, I think that's going to be the beginning of a new phase to get, wrestling we
Yeah, that'd
can't
be
get
great.
here like where you are. We can't see what unless you find it on YouTube. You can't find that kind of thing here where I'm at. So that would be really cool to have that.
Right.
Um, and
Hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I really do hope that AEW gets a streaming service
yeah,
soon.
yeah, and because I think that's going to be a game changer, so to speak, just because they're so popular. You got the one company that has been around
Hmm.
forever, but you got the one company that they went back to what most wrestling fans like, which is, yeah, sure, the stories are important, but when you watch wrestling, you want to see wrestling. And I think that's where independents come in is they do that quite a bit and they do
Yeah,
it well.
yeah. What I think is cool is that like with AEW and their WWE, Ring of Honor, New Japan, and even these small indie companies, is that there's different types of wrestling for different types of fans and different things you want to see. I think like it's like the big three, New Japan, WWE, and AEW, they all bring something different to the table. And so, you don't have to necessarily enjoy all of them, but you can find something you like, whether you're more into old school storytelling or you're just into the athleticism. There's a promotion out there that's going to offer what you want to see, which I think is really good for professional wrestling in
Yeah,
general because it just
exactly.
brings in more
And
fans.
I have a radio show, and we were talking about that last night. As far as you don't have to be a fan of one specific company. I think that there are certain things that WWE does that's really good, and sometimes their stories are fantastic. Same thing with AEW, New Japan, and the list could go on and on. Is
Hmm.
as wrestling fans, you kind of have a broad horizon of what's out there.
Hmm.
So, are there any promotions that you'd like to end up working for, whether it be the big three or four or some of the indies?
Um, I think the main goal for me, I try my end goal would be to do this for a living. But I would be lying if I said I'm not watching what the big three are doing and wish that I was a part of it. Since I was a kid, when I really wanted to be a part of Ring of Honor, and I think with AEW keeping Ring of Honor alive, I think that's going to be something that I really want to pursue in the future. In terms of on a small independent level, I would love to wrestle more out of state, get into the California scene. And especially up in where Philadelphia is, that area. I know professional wrestling is great over there. I definitely still need to hit Reality of Wrestling in Texas, which is Booker T's promotion. I think that's probably one of the biggest things I could do. So once I get a part of that, then that's another
Yeah,
small
and
goal that I need
since that
to
would
get
be
finished.
since he's a pretty much a legend in the business, that would be what I would think would be kind of like a next level stepping stone, so to speak.
Oh, absolutely. I've gone down to Reality of Wrestling to train a couple of times just to see what other schools are about, and they do it so right. Everyone I've worked from Reality of Wrestling has been phenomenal. Shout out to like Edge Stone, Tommy Bolton. Those two guys are two of my closest friends, and they're absolutely phenomenal in the ring. And everyone that Row trains and brings in is typically really, really good.
So I'm always curious to find out if you had to pick four wrestlers, whether it be past, present, as far as like a Mount Rushmore, what would your Mount Rushmore look like?
So that's one that's tough because I don't even have a favorite wrestler because it's just I can't pick. There's not one that trumps over everybody. My personal Mount Rushmore, as in wrestlers who have kept me interested in wrestling and that I've thoroughly enjoyed, would probably Rey Mysterio is up there for sure. He's always been super entertaining. I've loved him since I was a kid. I used to buy those masks from like WWE shop that were like $150 for each one. So Rey Mysterio is definitely up there. I really like Kota Ibushi. If in terms of who I've been a fan of, when I got older and I got more into independent wrestling in New Japan, Kota Ibushi is probably one of my favorite people to watch. Bryan Danielson, like I mentioned before, I loved him since I was a kid with Daniel Bryan in WWE, and I've gone to appreciate him so much more as I'm like studying wrestling because the little things he does is absolutely phenomenal. And I don't know who the last one would be. I want to say Shawn Michaels, but like everybody says that, so I'm trying to pick someone that's like a little bit more unique and maybe not as like that everyone already knows is amazing. This is gonna go against what I say, but I've always enjoyed Chris Jericho. Now that I think about it, every era of him. I know everyone says that he's the GOAT, but he really is.
Yeah,
he's incredibly entertaining with whatever he's doing. So I think that'd be my main four in terms of like who I look up to
and I
what
feel
I'm
like
trying to be.
that's a pretty solid Mount Rushmore. When you look at Bryan Danielson, he's just so smooth with everything he does, and it's so precise. And even though it's predetermined, it's like it's done with such intent that everything he does is believable. And plus the fact that he was he was able to
100%.
evolve into the character he is now says a lot. With Chris Jericho, I mean, he's like the Undertaker over the past, what was it, 35 years or so. He's ever changing, and he knows exactly when he needs to change and stay, relevant.
Yeah.
Which, for that guy, I mean, I would imagine a lot of the things that he's done has been pretty close to who he is as a person. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. He's great too. And then I'll shout out to Edge. Edge was my favorite as a kid, even when he was a heel, like when he would cash in on John Cena and everything. I loved everything about
He's
Edge
a
for some
really
reason, even as a kid.
Good bad guy.
So yeah,
I mean, I've heard people say that it's hard to be a baby face, but to be a heel, it's easy.
yeah.
And for him, he just does it so well.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're looking at your wrestling career, I know you just started recently, but is there an opponent that past or present that you would like to wrestle at some point? Well,
are you asking who I'd like to wrestle?
Somebody that would be like a
really
dream match,
working?
whether it be a past wrestler, or somebody current.
Oh. Currently, I mean, he's fresh in my mind because I think he's really hot right now. But something that seems kind of possible due to his age would be Jay White. Kind of been the king of New Japan and been holding that place down for a couple of recent years. That'd be something that I'd really like to do before he has to retire. A lot of my favorites right now are on the older side, so I don't know if I'll be able to get a chance to work them before they retire. But in terms of ever, does like past, present, or future. I think it would have been really cool to work Eddie Guerrero when he was in his prime. I think he's all the stuff I've watched of him is phenomenal. He's so smooth in the ring. If you watch him in WWE, he tells a story incredibly well. If you watch him when he was in Ring of Honor for a little bit or on the Independents, he can work with those guys. And I just think that he was one of those people who could just work well with anybody and keep everybody entertained and satisfied. So I think, yeah, Eddie Guerrero is up there for sure. And then Shawn Michaels obviously would be great, just of how good he is in the ring. And then kind of I don't not want to say necessarily obscure, but I've always been a huge fan of Chris Hero. And so I don't think he's working currently, but that would be something that'd be really cool. Just he was kind of the guy I watched first when I got into independent wrestling. It was just, he was the first guy I happened to watch.
Definitely. So what kind of stuff do you have coming up here in the next couple of weeks?
I have, so this weekend, for my home promotion, I'm in the main event for the Lions Pride Sports Championship against Zane Valero. Zane's a phenomenal wrestler, and every time that we work together, it's always super, super entertaining. And then right after that, on Sunday, I'm in Laredo for LWA, which is, again, phenomenal promotion run by this guy named Lieutenant Dan, who's always been great to me. And I'm wrestling Stud Stash over there for another championship. So I didn't think about it until you asked me, but I guess I have 2 title matches this weekend, which is super cool. And then something that just got me excited is that in July 3rd, I'm wrestling for WAW, which is in Waco, and I'm actually teaming up with my girlfriend, who's also a wrestler, MJ Santana, in a mixed tag match, and she's so good. She's at that level with my friends where, like, when they work, I get mad because of how good they are, and that I want to be the best on a show, and it's really hard when they're wrestling. And she's so good, and I don't think she's even been wrestling for a year yet. And I would say she's already worked some of the top talent in Texas and worked with them, like Mia Friday, who again is absolutely phenomenal, and she's only 16. But no, MJ Santana is someone that I think you should definitely look out for.
So that's really cool.
You
got some title matches coming up. Well, hopefully you win both of them. That would be really cool. So, I know I found you on Instagram. Are you on any other social media?
Yeah, so like you said, I'm on Instagram at Shimbashi Pro, and then on Facebook it's just Josh Shimbashi, and then Twitter is also Shimbashi Pro, and then those are the 3 I'm on right now. If there's another social media thing I should be on, I'm not aware of it yet. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule
to talk with me today. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
For sure.
Hopefully we can do it again.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, thank you.
Well, definitely appreciate it. I hope you have a good night.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to come on again.
We'll talk at you soon. All right. Thank you. Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.